Hello, everyone. Welcome to Red Planet Live. I am your host, Ashton Zeth. I am elated, excited, thrilled to be hosting the Mars Society's podcast and leading the conversation about human exploration of the universe and the future settlement of Mars. As a longtime space enthusiast, I am passionate about STEM education and making humanity an interplanetary species. So thank you, everybody, for joining today and supporting Red Planet Live. Now, before we jump into the conversation, which is going to be jam-packed because we have 4 guests today, just want to remind everyone about the annual convention, which is starting this week, this Thursday, August 8th to Sunday, August 11th. At the University of Washington in Seattle. Now, as you already know, you've heard me say this, but the event will bring together scientists, space executives, media, government representatives, students, space enthusiasts, anybody and everybody that's interested in Mars to discuss the pressing topics related to space exploration, technology advances, and planning for human exploration and the future settlement of Mars. Now, this convention is also going to have a couple special things. To give you a tidbit, we're going to have a NASA panel. I know that, obviously the topic of Mars and Mars sample return is going to come up in there. We're going to have a movie premiere by Dr. Michaela Musilova, who was on last episode of Red Planet Live. We're also going to see the debut of a musical composition by an opera soloist. And don't forget, there is a networking happy hour where we will be surrounded by dinosaurs. Just keep that in mind. So you don't want to miss it. Get your tickets online at marssociety.org. All right. So as I mentioned today, jam-packed, we've got 4 guests. Today's episode is going to focus on the Mars Society Ambassador Program. And like I mentioned, we have 4 representatives of the program. The first and the only, our Chief Ambassador Emeritus is James Melton, who is a former journalist, college instructor, professional pilot, and has addressed Fortune 500 companies at many events, including global conferences. His 8-part public television series, Reaching New Heights of Excellence, highlights his work. He is known for his candid and inspirational style, and we know that James has been able to challenge audiences to reevaluate their habits, their beliefs, and their daily choices. Now, with a PhD in management, he has lectured extensively around the globe, including China, France, Italy, Mexico, Canada, Dubai. Where haven't you been? Offering the practical insights into leadership and the future. James, thank you so much for being here today.
It is an extreme pleasure, Ashton. Thank you for inviting me.
Happy to have you here. And next up, we have the Ambassador, Jonathan Nalder, also known as the Edu-Not. And now, through 23 years in education and 6 years in space exploration, Jonathan has flown at the cutting edge of learning tools such as design thinking, STEM, AI, AR, VR. How many other acronyms can we throw in there? And environment sensors, which we know can transform lives. Now, just as the fully digital and multi-planetary era begins, he has dedicated himself to helping students and teachers transition to this new era via programs like First on Mars and Space 2101. He's a globally awarded innovator, senior AI evaluator, former crew member of the Crew 270 at MDRS, hence there we go, the flight suit. He is also the founder of FutureWe.org, writer for Space Australia, ISTE online presenter, and a Co-Spaces ambassador. Jonathan, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Ashton.
Quite the resume. We're going to have to dive into some of that.
Just shorten that a little bit next time.
I like the tongue twisters. You're keeping me on my toes.
You handled it really well. And can I just do a little shout out? I also have my Mars Society Australia shirt on here. So shout out to all the other Aussies.
I love all the logos here. You're practically a NASCAR driver. No NASCAR.
Mars Society ambassadors. That's the one right there.
The important badge, the one that we love to see. All right, and next up we have Emmanuel Kyei Twumasi. Emmanuel is an innovative engineer from Ghana with a passion for space technology and its transformative potential. He is the founder of 14 Space Engineering and aims to address socioeconomic challenges through technology in developing countries. His strong leadership qualities and robust work portfolio in Ghana, tech space have earned him a reputation for empowering, inspiring, and innovative contributions. As a Mars Society ambassador, Emmanuel continues to advocate for space exploration and its benefits. Emmanuel, Kyei, thank you so for being here. Excited to chat with you.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine, and I'm really excited to be here.
Love it. And last but not least, we have Ambassador Nasir Rizwan. And Nasir is an inspiring space entrepreneur and a leadership undergraduate from Pakistan. He's working to promote space awareness throughout Pakistan. In 2021, he founded Ad Hoc Astronomical Society, focused on making space accessible to underserved youth in the country. To date, he has reached 10,000 students and has been awarded the winning Space Ambassador of Pakistan for 3 consecutive years between 2021 and 2023 by the Space Agency of Pakistan, SUPARCO. Recently, he took the Mars Society badge up to 15,000 feet on a remote mountain, which was a mountaineering trip in northern Pakistan. Nasir, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me here. Pleasure is all mine.
Well, I'm so excited to chat for you guys. I'm a little biased, obviously, us being a part of the ambassador program, you know, we know what it's like and we've kind of got the inside scoop, but excited to tell everybody else about our efforts, what the program is about, what we do, and how we are able to influence others about Mars and getting humans to the red planet. So typically how we start each episode is with a segment called Question of the Day. Again, as you've heard me say before, there's no right or wrong answers. It's just meant to be conversational and an icebreaker for us. So today's question of the day is, when humans land on Mars, where do you hope to be witnessing the historical moment from? Give you a second to think about it.
Well, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. I expect to be behind a VR camera or headset that James Burke has designed, watching it happen live, real time, in not only in my mind, but in my vision.
I love it. That's a great answer. I didn't expect that one. That's not one I had thought of. So I love it. Let's see, Jonathan, what about you? Where do you hope to be witnessing humans on Mars from?
I'm not sure about where. I think the best thing would be with, and this is going to be a little bit on brand, but imagine being able to do that with other Mars Society ambassadors and share that experience. Yeah, that a little bit long way, and maybe some of the other guys can chip in. You know, so there's not as many perhaps Mars Society ambassadors or Mars aficionados in some other parts of the world. So yeah, to get together with a bunch of ambassadors would make that pretty special.
I love that idea too. Nasir, Kyei, what do you think? Where do you want to be witnessing it from?
I think I should be among the people who are the first ones to land on the Mars. If not the first ones, I might be in the orbit revolving around the Mars. So that would be a good thing for me.
That was the answer I was expecting. Yeah. Kyei, what about you?
Yeah, so for me, it will be watching live with with young leaders from across the world, people being between the ages of 1 to 7 or 5, and that inspired them to be the next generation of astronaut. If not being there, like I was going to give the same answer of me actually being, but I would love to inspire the next generation of leaders to actually pick that inspiration. So yeah, for me, it will be a group of like young individuals just packing the interest and then letting them know that they could reach out for something greater like that in a great fee. So yeah, for me, that'll be it.
I love that answer too. Spoken like a true ambassador, wants to be witnessing the moment with, you know, other young people and inspiring them to chase, you know, their dreams and be involved in the space industry. I love that. I would say for me, I probably want to be witnessing it with my family and friends, like those that I love close to me, experiencing that moment all together. But I also think like mission control, giant screens in front of me, watching the countdown happen live, from behind the scenes at NASA, I think would be pretty cool too. Or SpaceX, whoever gets there first.
Excellent.
All right, well, let's jump right in it. We've got 50 minutes, lots of questions I have for all of you. So I think the appropriate place for us to start is obviously the ambassador program. How did we get started? James, I'm going to direct this question to you first. What inspired you to start the Mars Society Ambassador program?
I can make it short, but it's very difficult. So let me give that a try. It was back in 2015 when I was watching the History Channel on television, and I saw a segment called Mars. And I've been passionate about Mars for, I'm going to say, all my life. I've always had my head up in the clouds. Someone said, you're not happy until you have your feet firmly planted in the air. And I saw Dr. Zubrin on there, and he moved me. And I put the program on hold. I ran into the office in my facility, and I signed up for the Mars Society. And then I went back and watched the program. And after a couple of years, I'm being involved, going to the conferences, enjoying the interplay between the people. I came to the realization that they really had no ambassadors, no one really singing their praises worldwide. I mean, everybody has an ambassador. You've got ambassadors for the chambers of commerce. You have ambassadors for a variety of businesses. So I was speaking in Denver. I was addressing the Denver Eclectics, about 250 very astute women at the Denver Country Club on January 10th, 2020. And after that, Dana, my wife and I went over to Pioneer Engineering, the organization that Robert Zubrin was owning, and he was in the middle of 4 NASA projects, but he took about an hour out to talk with us. And I really went over there to pose the idea of forming an ambassador program. And his words were, go for it. So I did. I wrote the manual. I designed the patch. I laid out the criteria. Was a challenge, but right now, Ashton, I think we have about 50 ambassadors. Is that about what it is?
Yep.
Worldwide, in about 17 countries, and I'm excited about this. I know that there are reasons to get up in the morning. Elon Musk talks about the quote of, there have to be reasons why you want to get up in the morning and you want to live. He says you want to think that the future is going to be better than today, that it's going to be a bright day, otherwise it's not. So I'm a believer in that, and I think that the ambassador program has the ability to bring people together. We don't discriminate against nationalities, against color, against male, female. We do have an age criteria, which I think is reasonable, but everyone has something to share, some expertise that they can share with other people at a party, at a convention, at an exposition, at a table, whatever it might be. Just standing there on the elevator and people are talking, and you can bring up the conversation of Mars very easily, especially when you're wearing your Mars Ambassador patch. I do that in the produce counter. People say, what's that? Well, they forget that I am the Chief Ambassador Emeritus, so it causes a lot of conversation. This is why I felt it was so important. We bring people together as ambassadors. That's what the word ambassador really means, bringing people together. So I could be more lengthy. I can at some other time, but I was inspired to have more people than just myself out there pulling the ideas together. I felt we needed people like Nasir, like Jonathan, like Che. We needed people like that. And that's what the ambassador program has done. So allow me to put a period there, and we can talk about more later if you wish.
I love it. Well, we're all here because you had that inspiration to start this program. You know, we wouldn't all be here in this moment having this conversation without it. So I have to turn the question to you three. You know, what inspired you to want to join the Mars Society Ambassador Program? Jonathan, you want to kick that off?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Look, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, like, thanks James for doing it and providing this great sort of community for us in the first place. The first one is a little bit selfish, I guess, for me. I mentioned being in Australia, and the part of the ambassador program I love is the idea of educating people about Mars, and I've had an amazing time doing that with students over the last few years, primary school and high school, that kind of thing. But there's not, for whatever reason, not that many. It's not like you're going to run into someone at the grocery store who is also doing that. So slightly selfishly, for me, it was like, wow, there's someone like James who built this community, and I get to be a part of that. So first, you feel like you're part of something bigger. There's the encouragement, and also the opportunity to collaborate. Haven't had a chance to do anything with Che or Nasir yet, but some of the other ambassadors around the world, Aravinda in Sri Lanka, who's producing Mars Regolith with students. So there's that great chance to connect with people, and how would I ever find them otherwise, basically. So that's what sort of got me to go, yep, I'm going to apply for that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's one of the appeals about the ambassador program, is getting to connect with members from around the globe, making those relationships and those connections, being able to network with other educators or other enthusiasts, other entrepreneurs, other business owners that want to be involved in this space. I love that this program brings everybody together. Let's see, Nasir, Che, what do you think? Why were you inspired to join the ambassador program?
So for me, it was a bit of an interesting story. Back when I joined Mars Society, I joined as the chapter coordinator for Asia, and I was seeing the stuff we have been doing. I knew about the MDRS and the Arctic Research Station, and so there was this event last year. I was at a session at a school. It was an Air Force Institute, and a lot of students were there. And we had to talk about the Mars, and then we had to use the telescope I have in the background for observation. And there was this teacher, and she was really satirical with her words now. And after the event, we will all gathered, the head of the institute, the Air Force officials, the students, and the parents. And she said, Nasir, although we were doing good stuff with the space, but I think space is just the waste of money. And I said, yeah, it makes sense, because you didn't think of this but by the time you were preparing for this event, because we live in a country that spends more on makeup and cosmetics than on the space program. So maybe we could say that you, by the time you're putting on your lipstick or makeup, you can say, okay, we can use the same money for to feed people who are hungry and the stuff, we can solve poverty with this. So I had this idea. I know that was inappropriate at that moment, but it was something that the space advocacy, the Mars advocacy, is something that we are fighting on all fronts. Especially if I talk about space, we had to advocate it in terms of technology, in terms of monetary things, in terms of awareness level. We have to educate people. So I thought, okay, let's just take this up. And then I heard this interview from James Melton. He had a YouTube video published 6 years back, and he was talking about the leadership things. And okay, I said, let's just sign up for this. And that was my moment to start the ambassador program with the Mars Society. And I said, okay, this is something that I believe in, and I feel good doing this. That was my start with the Mars Society ambassador.
I love to see this like chain reaction. James, you had that thought like, okay, we need to have this program. You made a video. Nasir saw that video. He joined the program. Now he's influencing, young people in Pakistan. I mean, the reach is so broad. I love to hear that story.
Yes, I do too. It's marvelous.
All right, Jay, what about you? What brought you to the ambassador program?
So for me, it's a bit of what everybody has said, but the main goal for me joining was contributing to global vision, the global vision of the Mars Society. For me, I believe that to be a leader, you need to serve. So I wanted to serve people. And we as ambassadors serving other people are actually leading them because we are contributing to a global world vision. So I believe that the Mars Society's global vision. And then after the time, I felt like space is something to the geographical location I found myself, especially my country as well. And I was in the university by then. And my school has started a lot of space programs, so I decided that if we want to explore space, we've already done the moon. So if we had to go to a different planet, what would it be? It would be Mars. But how do I get involved in a society? I can only do that if I serve, because I believe that great leaders wants to serve and not to lead. So for me, the first point or the first reason why I joined the Mars Ambassador Program was to contribute to a global vision and then spread the news, and that's been like my focus. And then another reason is also to collaborate. Like, had it not been for the Mars Ambassador Program, I wouldn't meet such great individuals and like-minded individuals who share the same vision, the same passion. It makes it really engaging, and then it makes it really seamless to share information and collaborate because you all share the same ideas and you all want to follow through. The last one will be legacy building. So for me, I'm going to say legacy building because if you look at what the Mars Society is doing now with the Mars Institute, right? The Mars Institute, like with what James and Dr. Robert started, is legacy building. So we want to go to Mars. What will we need to get to Mars? So if we as ambassadors are contributing to things like that, to the research, to the funding, to getting the tools, whatever it is, I feel like if we are building a legacy for the next generation. So that would be the three things for me. One being contributing to a global, vision, and then two, collaborating with other like-minded individuals, and then the legacy building is what I go out for. So yeah, that's why I joined the ambassador program, and it's been an amazing journey so far. And I'll urge everyone to join the Mars Ambassador program because it's really proactive, and you're gonna learn a lot from other like-minded individuals. So for me, that would be like the free and every other bit of what everyone has said. Yeah.
We're going to have so many signups for ambassadors after this conversation. I love it. You hit on a good point there. Legacy. When you talked about at the beginning, where do you want to be when you witness humans on Mars? It may not be our generation that is colonizing Mars, but it's those young people that you're influencing now with your efforts, whether that's through your educational programs. You're talking to those young people and inspiring them. They may be the colonizers of Mars. So I love what you said about a legacy. That's pretty cool. That's a good point. I get questions all the time about the ambassador program, and people want to know, why do you do this, and what are you doing? Okay, you say you're an ambassador and you want to influence people, but what are you doing to influence, to make those impacts on other people? And so people always ask questions about like, why Mars? Why is that important? So I wanted to ask all of you because, I have my own perception and I've had my own experiences, but I want to hear from you. Have there been any specific challenges or misconceptions that you frequently encounter when you're discussing Mars with the public? And what do you say to them when people are, you've got the flat Earth people, but the people that are asking specifically about Mars and they have specific challenges or misconceptions, what do they say and how do you address it?
I go ahead, Jonathan.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to jump in on that. Like those sort of misconceptions. I might be reading this a little bit wrong, Ashton, but some of those are actually the best openings, to get that interest. The idea of Mars being similar, but also like so different. And one of the favorite things we do with students is talk about, how long is a sol on Mars?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's about the same, so that's good. What about a year on Mars? And then you just see little minds go, okay, so if it's a year on Mars is nearly twice as long, are we going to have 2 Christmases a year, or are we just going to wait a lot longer? Or for your birthday, you're going to have to wait a lot longer. And it's some of those things that are, I don't know if you call them misconceptions, but they're close, but then they're different. And Mars is just amazing for getting your mind. I'm talking adults as well, some of the adult workshops. I had the privilege to do these workshops, which is the first on Mars. And I even did this with a government organization which regulates the dairy industry, like cows and milk. And we did the first dairy on Mars as their theme. And just the way that Mars gets people thinking differently and creatively is what I love about it. There's the challenge of it. It's amazing for those kind of discussions. Love it.
I love the 2 Christmases comment. Let's see, James, what about you? How do you address the challenges or the misconceptions that people have about Mars and why that's important?
Well, number one, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. The question or the challenge occurs, Ashton, when they don't have anything to base it on. And Mars, as much as we in our circle are aware that it's existing, it's there, we will be landing on Mars in the not too distant future, many people are, it's not out there prominently in the news. It will be, and we know that we're going to go there someday. But many people, as Jonathan was saying and Nasir was saying, why are we spending so much time and money on the moon and Mars when we have so many problems right here on Earth? Well, I have to say we're not being negative about it, but there will always be people who will be hungry. There will always be people who will be ill. There will always be people who are disenchanted with life. There will always be people who are not in a good relationship. There will always be people who are dissatisfied. But the contrary is also true. And we can look forward. I like to think people going to Mars have a forward-looking vision. I'd like to see that they look at this as a job of respecting people, of acting from an ethical base, of bringing in the diversity that we have to offer and to share with others, because diversity is a key. And I think there's a strong level of dignity that comes from this. It's kind of like we have elements on our planet right now. I'm diverting a little bit, but my vision is for the future. My vision is for our civilization, not so much in our children, but our civilization. And there is a civilization out there that we can build, and we are fortunate to live in a window of time where we can make this happen. No other time that I can think of or that I know of in history did we have the technology, the people, the passion, the money, the desire to become multiplanetary. And I like to bring that vision to the people, even on an elevator, because if you can share these ideas that will cause people to think, that's the whole key. Albert Schweitzer was once asked, what's wrong with people? He said, people just don't think. Now, I don't necessarily think that's the case in all instances, but I think we have to evaluate why we're doing this, what we're doing about it. Are we making a difference? And can we share this with other people? Will this make the lives better of our children, our grandchildren? And how can I be a part of that? My goodness, being a part of starting a new civilization on another planet, I can think of nothing more exciting than having that We are looking at these people right here on the program. We are that base of people who are doing this. That's my passion, and I believe passion of enthusiasm is very catching.
Said it best. Passion is catching. Let's see. Kyei or Nasir, do you have anything to add to that? About challenges. How do you tackle the misconceptions when you're out? You're in your ambassador role. You're trying to influence others about why Mars is important. Anything you want to add to that piece?
I would say for me, it's just the usual, you know, challenges that we all face. That's what I face a lot. Even like with people not first of all believing that some of these things can be done, and then also everybody thinks about poverty. Like we have a lot of issues on Earth. Why do we have to go to Mars to solve it? But then in this way, as a species, right, or as a human race, we've been innovating and then we are innovators. So if we can innovate something, why should we stop now? Because if you look at even when it comes to clothing, when it comes to even with technologies that we have, we're still, innovating. We are still finding. That means that within us lie exploration. Within us lie something greater. So if we can all come together and then help push the next frontier of human civilization, it's gonna be like something great. But then what I get from where I come from, and then my country, is that it's poverty. Poverty is the major thing. But then when you actually talk to them and then let them know the importance of space, you even have to show them by them knowing they're using their phones. Space is all around us, just that we don't see it. It's just like you sitting down and looking into yourself and realizing that you can do something. You are a creator on your own, and that you can create something for the next generation. So that's how I solve the issue. I don't really argue too much with people, but I just let them know space is all around us and you can see it. It's the same thing that you're using. You're using your GPS. You talk about food. You talk about smart. Talk about the pharmaceutical industry. Space is all around us. So sometimes it's just a little patience, and they have to explain to them and let them know, just like what Jim said, it's not always about, just like what James Melton said, it's not always about, um, you know, poverty, but things are still going to be like that. The only thing that's going to change our race is when we can aim higher, we can dream, because what's life without not dreaming bigger? So for me, that's how I actually manage those problems. Because what I get most of the time is poverty. That's the major thing. People are talking about why waste money, why go to space, and even talk about going to Mars. Are you not scared? Why, let's look at more daring stuff on Earth. But for me, if we can innovate and then we can see within us that space is all around us, that really solves everything. And that's how I go about such challenges. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You nailed it. Yeah. I love the points you bring up about like space is all around us, trying to make space relatable to people. They don't know that their smartphone, that GPS, cameras, water filtration systems, firefighter uniforms, like all of those things that we use in our everyday life or around us come from the space program. So trying to make it relatable to people about why that's important. I love that you bring that point up. Let's see. Nazir, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so regarding the misconceptions now, we have all grown up seeing the documentaries on Mars and cartoons and read the fiction about it, and we grew up with this notion that Mars is exclusively for scientists or astronomers, but in realityArs is a common goal of humanity. Like Dr. Robert Zubrin puts it really good, that he says Mars is where the challenge is, it's where the future is, and it's like I just like try to remember how it said, like it's where the science is, it's where the challenge is, it's where the future is. So this is something like Mars. Mars was once like a planet just like Earth. It had water on its surface, but it disappeared into space. So the first humans will probably go there and they like see this. They find life. We can get to know about more about the life. Like is it like exclusive to Earth? or is life a general phenomenon of all universe? And the process of doing so, the process of reaching Mars will inspire a generation of people, aerospace engineers, people who are in space, and they're going to see us what we are doing for the space advocacy. And this is going to help build a generation who's going to be the people who are going to step on the Mars. So this is something that everything we do for Mars is actually helping us live a better life on Earth. So this whole idea that people think that somehow Mars is just exclusive to a specific type of people, it's not true. It's just a common goal of all humanity combined.
You nailed it as
I
well.
really like what you all said, and you embrace this so well. If I might, uh, Nasir, you were talking, as was Che and Jonathan, about building a community of people, and when we go to Mars, and we will be going, when we go to Mars, my life is your life. And the way we think about each other will change. Not on here, we've got 8.5 billion people. When we go there, I'm responsible for your life, and you're responsible for my life. Are we going to take care of each other? You darn well better believe we're going to take care of each other. Are we going to condemn each other? No, we're not going to condemn each other. We want to be on your good side because you're responsible for my life. And I think we can be a template of a society, a culture that we develop on Mars that can be an example. I really truly believe that everything we do in our efforts to go to Mars will have spin-off for the Earth and for our population, our civilization here on Earth. But I do believe, as Dr. Zubin said, leave the past behind and take the new idea and let's go there and live it. So how we treat people, I talk about technology and I talk about humanity. I'm not a scientist, but I really feel technology is very important. But as I've said so often, Ashton, and you know this, uh, technology alone will not take us to Mars. If we can't sit down and talk with each other, if we can't communicate effectively, if we don't listen to people and bring people together, we're not going anywhere. So that's why I believe the program you're putting on today, Ashton, sharing our ideas about our feelings, about what we can do to lift our civilization is extremely important. So I thank you for that.
Absolutely. Again, I'm so thrilled that you guys are here. And again, I'm like a little bit biased because you guys are part of my crew with the ambassadors. So I'm especially excited to chat with you. But I wanted to touch on something for each of you individually, because obviously we're ambassadors and we have a collective goal. But us as individuals, we're ambassadors, but that's not necessarily our day job. It's not necessarily our our background, where we come from. This is something that we do in addition to our other roles, our other passions. So want to touch on each of you and something that you guys are doing specifically. But James, I'll start with you. Every time we talk, I always hear about like another bullet point on your extensive resume. And last time we were talking, you were mentioning your experience as an educator, and you were talking about managing speakers. So I just have to ask, tell us a little bit about your background with, managing speakers and being an educator, and how you relate that to being our chief ambassador emeritus.
Well, thank you. Contrary to popular belief, I really can hold a job. It sounds like I can't, but for about several decades, Dana, my wife and I, we started the agency for speakers and entertainers, and we put these people on the platform worldwide. I mean, people like Aaron Brockovich, Richard Dreyfuss, Sigourney Weaver, who is Ellen Ripley and The Alien,
Mhm.
you know, Tom Brokaw, you name it. We worked with all of these people, and we placed these people on the stage. Isaac Asimov. We dealt with Walter Isaacson and various presidents and politicians and a lot of these media professionals. I learned a lot about getting exposure and what brings people to conferences. I'm a speaker and a writer myself, and people say, when will you retire? I have to say, I have no interest in retiring. There's too much out there to experience. So that was my speaking, and helping people speak and putting them on platform has been a strong part of my background. And again, flying, of course. I've always been teaching something, teaching a flight instructor, or being a speech coach, or in college, I was the head of the art department. I was teaching pottery. So teaching has been a real basis for my life. And my philosophy is, we teach best what we need to learn most. So I always look for ways to jump in. In other words, I wanted to learn more about Mars, so I started giving programs on it. And that's where we learn. I'm strong about that. So yeah, there are a lot of things we've all done, and some have been more dollar successful than others. But my passion is in space. My passion is leadership. My passion is the future. Right now, I'm writing another book on that, and I'm excited about it. And that's where I'm putting a lot of my time currently. Needless to say, it's about Mars.
We look forward to hearing more when your book comes out. Officially, we'll have to do something special with that in the ambassadors. Let's see. Jonathan, you are dressed for the part, and we're talking about other roles besides being an ambassador. You were also a crew member at MDRS. Can you tell us about your time, your mission, who your crew was? What did you get out of that experience?
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk about wanting to learn about Mars. The Mars Desert Research Station does accept applications throughout the year for teams or for individuals. And yeah, for me, there's no better. I heard about the MDRS first when an Australian guy went over there probably about 6-7 years ago, and there was some newspaper stories when he came back that this Aussie who'd been to Mars, etc. And that was actually my first kind of little window into, hang on, is there a society? And there's like a whole world of this.
There's a whole crew of them.
Yeah, and I managed to get in touch with him. Dr. Michaela Masalova was on that crew, so I got to know her through interacting with them, and some of the other people who were on that crew, and just opened up that world for me. As I said, that was sort of probably even 6-7 years ago, and then always had this idea of how amazing would that be to get to go there myself. It is a long way from Australia, etc. But the Spaceward Bound program that Dr. Shannon Rupert has been running for many, many years, and it's been to a bunch of other countries as well, not just MDRS. They've done programs here in Australia and other countries. But yeah, there was an opportunity to apply for the Spaceward Bound. You had to be a teacher, so I could tick that box. I think I'm the only Australian who's actually sort of gone and done the specific program at the MDRS, and was just learning the whole time. My background is probably more in the humanities. I do have a pilot's license as well. Once upon a time, I can relate with James, but primarily, the humanities is where I came from. So it was amazing to spend all this time exploring the geology around the base itself, but also just what is it like. The thing I took away to talk with students about is, right, so if you only got solar power, and if your messages that you send have to have that time delay, and you have to conserve water, and pretty much all of your food is freeze dried, that you've got to figure out ways to cook it, like those kind of, you just can't replace that opportunity to learn by being put yourself in that situation. And our Commander Jen, she had done several of these as well, so she kind of knew what to look out for us. But yeah, as I said, we just learned so much about even the mindset. The Spaceward Bound is a week mission. Often at the Endeavours, it's 2 weeks or more. So ours was a shorter one, but even that was enough to be pretty inspiring. So I can highly recommend anyone who gets a chance to apply.
We're always recruiting. I feel like every episode of Red Planet Live, we talk about MDRS and always accepting applications. There's room for everybody. So yeah, thank you for sharing about your experience. Let's see, Che, I have to ask you. So I was mentioning all of us have other roles. Ambassador is one of our roles, but we do many other things. And so I wanted to ask you specifically about 14 Space Engineering. Can you tell us about your organization and what's its purpose?
All right, great. Thank you so much for that. So 14 Space Engineering is an organization that are raising the next generation of leaders to do 4 things: to explore, create, change, and then impact the space industry. So that's what we're doing. That's our focus. And we've collaborated with the Mars Society and the Mars Ambassador Program. Last year we did how do you call it? Last year we did our Mass Awareness Day, and we're pleased to have Ambassador James on there, and we had the Executive Director James Beck as well. We had some few ambassadors, and we were glad to also connect with the Flash. That's when we started the Flashline, Mass Flashline program, and then we connected our audience to them. So yeah, so basically 14 Space Engineering is just inspiring in simple terms, inspiring the next generation of leaders to explore, create, change, and then impact the space society. So we are doing that by organizing like speakathons, series, book camps, events that are geared towards space technology, and then also really pushing the Mars Ambassador Program and the Mars Society in every way that we can. So this year, in November, we're going to be having Mars Ambassador, how do you call it? A Mars Awareness Day, and we are asking all ambassadors to be part of it. So we are organizing the Mars Awareness Day, and it's going to be in November. And then we're excited to share all the plans with you when we have it. Basically, that's what I do with 14 Space Engineering, and then we're looking forward to raising about 1 million young, space entrepreneurs and space scientists all over Africa and then the world at large. So we're looking at that within like a decade. So it's very ambitious, but we hope we can do that. And then we've even started with educating people on Mars through our Mars with the Ambassador Program and then the Mars Society. So basically, that's what I do on the side as well. Yeah, thank you.
That's very exciting. Well, as soon as you have more details about your Mars Awareness Day, please share those with me, and so that we can blast those out on social media and in our different networks to raise awareness for that day.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, Nasir. So we were talking about other roles, other passions. We've got an educator. We've got 2 pilots. We've got speakers. I know that you're a mountaineer. And I see on Instagram you are currently training. I think you were working out the other day. So where does this passion come from? And are you training for a mission to Mars? Is that why you're climbing mountains?
Yeah, it's just a secret between us ambassadors that I'm preparing to summit the Mount Olympus that's on Mars. So I'm probably the first person to climb the mountain on Mars. So yeah, this is my plan. The inspiration came from I'm from the northern Pakistan, and we have a lot of great mountains. Place I live is surrounded by rivers and the mountains. So this is something that was intrinsic in me. I always wanted to climb. But last year when I was climbing, it was in the northern Pakistan. The mountain was called Mount Ladai, and I had this ambassador patch with me, and I was it was the same day Pakistan launched its first satellite with the help of Chinese Space Agency to the moon, and it was 2 p.m. local time. I was on the mountaintop, and my friends who were at the university, at the institute, and they were doing the countdown, and I was doing the countdown from the top of the mountain. I was like, okay, this is amazing. So I had this I made a couple of pictures with my ambassador patch. So this is something I was feeling how it feels to be like above from the surface level, that the ground level, and I was like having sort of a feeling of isolation. Somehow I am in the analog research station, something that I like aspire to be like a part of a future mission, just like Jonathan, who was at like 270 crew. And so yeah, climb more mountains and be a part of analog missions at MDRS, hopefully very soon.
I love it. I love that everybody's so passionate about so many different areas, not just Mars and not just being ambassador, but you've got passions to climb a mountain and you're preparing for a future mission at MDRS. I love to hear that.
They certainly are. If I might add, I personally really appreciate all of you, Ashton included, in bringing me into your lives as a personal touch. Nasir, you sent me a video of what you're doing. You made a video. You have your little patch you sent to the top of the mountain. Che, excuse me. You actually had me address one of your chapter meetings over in Ghana, virtually, of course, which is lovely. And Jonathan, I can always rely on you to do what's needed to be done. And Ashton, with your Red Planet Live programs, you're making a splash all over. If I think collectively we have the mission statement, if I might share our mission statement as an ambassador, it's simply to serve as a professional team of people dedicated to elevating public awareness of our mission to land humans on Mars within this decade and begin settling the red planet. Very simple mission. And I think all of us in our own inimitable style are doing what we can to meet that mission.
You said it best. A talented pool of representatives that are pushing forward the effort to get humans to Mars. And that's why we're all here. Speaking of, while we're all here, we're obviously ambassadors. I want to hear from each of you with the last remaining time that we have. What is one thing that you've done this year that you were excited about? Maybe it was a particular speaking engagement or an event you were at, or something that you have coming up in the rest of this year. What are you excited about as an ambassador? Maybe it's a Mars-specific event, a talk, a speaking engagement. Either you've already done it or it's coming. What are you excited about?
Well, I could share something if that's good. I'm planning a lecture tour for colleges and universities and high schools, bringing the Mars concept there. I started it out with LA City College and did a program called Why Mars, Why Now, and was very well received. I think people are eager to hear about this. They just don't know that it's available. Mm-hmm. So I believe the lecture series is going to be a lot of fun, first of all. Yeah. Dan and I will go out. Dan, I never leave the house without her. Someone said, don't leave home without her. So I don't. So she and I will be going out on these lecture tours to the high schools, the colleges, the universities, and sharing about the Mars project.
That's very exciting. I wish you and Dana the best of luck in the lecture tour. Let's see, Jonathan, what do you have? What are you excited about? What's coming up for you?
So the idea of an edunaut for me as an educator who is willing to go beyond and try new things. That's kind of been my thing, I guess. Don't always get it right, but love working with other teachers and students around that same kind of concept. So of course I had to try out some AI tools this year. If you're in any space really, you've heard about generative AI and various things. And there's a great platform called rosebud.ai, where the prompts and what you type gets converted into code for you. And it's really for making games, but one of the ones I got to play around with was making a chatbot with a personality, and it's all about basically, it's the year. Can't remember what I made, 2050 on Mars. Have a chat to this cranky guy who hasn't had enough coffee yet. He's very cagey about what the problems might be that people are facing there. So you have to engage with this bot and try and, from what you ask, try and get him to reveal the actual problems. the idea is then that students take what they learn and then they go and actually start working on solutions for those. But it's the kind of thing that you can log on and have that interaction and that conversation, learn about Mars, learn about the MDRS without having to be in an actual room, say with me or with an ambassador or whatever. It's available anytime when someone wants to go and have that conversation. I guess that's the advantage of the chatbot type thing. So yeah, it's been really fun. Almost at the stage where I want to get a whole bunch of ambassadors to do a bit of stress testing and see if they can break it, and then go from there. That's mine.
All right, calling all ambassadors. I got a task here. Everybody band together. We can do this stress testing for you. Good. Let's see. Nasir, what do you have coming up that you're excited about? Is there a specific project? I think I remember you hearing you say something about discovering asteroids. Is that right?
Yeah. So the institutes have been to I see talented individuals all the time. These are students that are competing in a sort of like citizen scientist programs or the rocketry stuff or the drone making, and these students are representing Pakistan like globally. But I found out they don't have those like a platform or something to work together or like show their expertise within the country. So that goes back to the work that I've been doing with the underserved students that have no prior access to space or telescope. So we thought, let's bring something for them which can serve as the starting point for them to start working on the actual research work. So there was this NASA Citizen Scientist program, which I would definitely recommend Emmanuel to, because we were roughly at the same position that the place, the students, the awareness level is kind of same. So these students will participate for a month in the campaign, and they will get the real images from the telescopes, and they will analyze those images to make asteroid discoveries. And by the end of this campaign, the students will get to have the real experience how it feels like to work as an astronomer, and they'll get the certificates from NASA. So these are typically for the students. Those are from the ages of 10 to 15, or even the university students are applying it. So this is a good start for them, and we're hoping to do it reach, promote it throughout the country. I talked with James Burke, and we were including Mars Society as our partner in this. We will promote the Mars Society's logo on this, and this is just starting in the mid of September. So we have a month or so. You'll see how we are promoting it, reaching out to different institutes and encouraging their students to apply on this. And we are hoping to reach to at least 500 students or so. This is the plan. But the main thing I'm more concerned about is the analog mission, analog research station. So although we cannot build a same thing like the MDRS, but I've been talking to a couple of friends, and we had this funding opportunity, and we there's nothing like the analog thing in Pakistan. So maybe collaborate with their university and make a small replica where the students can work, or maybe get the data that already the crew of analog mission has worked on. Maybe use the same data and use a small scale project, maybe a final year project of their university, and do the same thing we're doing at the MDRS. Although, because the philosophy of reaching Mars is we're not constrained by the budget and technology, we can use whatever we have at the moment and utilize it to its best. And so I think this is the general philosophy we are embodying in Pakistan. And the last thing that I'm very curious about is, I've been talking to the district management, and they agreed to onboard 20 schools or so. And a month from now, we'll be having a Mars awareness, sort of like a Mars session. You can see, I will not let any moment slip to advertise the signed copy I have by Robert Jordan. So the thing is, we'll be doing something for the Mars awareness for the students, typically who have no awareness for the Mars, and we can do observation and day session. So we will probably hoping to reach 3 to 5,000 students in the city where I live. So these are the couple of plans we have, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of assistance from my fellow ambassadors and see how we can execute it, make the model, and implement it to the other places and see how it goes.
I'm really intrigued by everything you have going on. That's very exciting. I'm expecting to see some updates throughout the end of the year as you're working on these different projects. All right, Emmanuel. Jay, bring it home. What you got going on that you're excited about?
Yeah, I would like to share that I'm really excited about the upcoming Mars 27th annual Mars convention happening in University of Washington in Seattle, and I'm excited about my talk on Saturday about giving an update about African Mars analog, and then same things. We are also thinking about starting an analog, but also making it like regional. So I'm excited to share updates on what we're doing, and I'm also excited for our Master Wednesday later in the year in November. So yeah, those are the two things I'm super excited and looking up to within the year. So yeah.
Well, keep us in the loop about, if you've got an analog station coming up. That's really exciting. I love to see that they're starting to launch more research stations around the world in different regions. It's really exciting.
If I might take just a second,
yeah, please do.
I would like to share my honor and how proud I am of our ambassadors. These are examples right here of the enthusiasm that is just bursting at the seams. There are other ambassadors out there that we haven't introduced. They're not represented right now, but at the conference, some of them will be. And Nasir, Jonathan, and Jay, thank you for stepping forward and being who you are and being so passionate about this. I couldn't be more pleased. I appreciate it, and I know the Mars Society appreciates it too. And Ashton, the same goes for you.
Thank you. You said it best. You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm just so proud of all of our ambassadors and excited to be a part of the program and getting the opportunity to lead the ambassador program. So thank you so much, James, for being here, Nasir, Emmanuel, Jonathan. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining and answering all of my questions. It's been such a pleasure to chat with all of you today.
Thank you.
Thank you to you guys. Thanks for the chance.
One more thank you to our friends at Liftport. Thank you to our executive director, James Burke. Thank you, Michael Stoltz, for all of your help. And as you've heard me say, and I'll say it again, the best is yet to come. All right. Bye, everybody.